Today I'm going to be making a video about some very dangerous chemistry accidents I've had. Just to give you an example of just how people make mistakes. So the first one was a few months ago when I tried to make aluminum hydroxide. I don't know why, to be honest, but the plan was to react aluminum and hydrochloric acid to get aluminum chloride, and then to mix the aluminum chloride with calcium hydroxide, which would precipitate aluminum hydroxide. The only problem was that calcium hydroxide isn't soluble, so it wouldn't work anyway. Then what I tried to do is I prepared the aluminum and hydrochloric acid, which is about 10 molar, and I crumpled up the stoichiometric amount of aluminum foil and dropped it into the hydrochloric acid. For a few seconds, nothing happened, but as you know, with that kind of reaction, it takes a few seconds and then it really takes off. I fumed a lot, so then I breathed in. It was super painful. I was like, whoa. So I walked back, breathed in again, and it was even more painful. I kept walking back, and it kept getting more painful. And then I started panicking. So I thought the whole garage was filled with hydrogen chloride gas, which is extremely toxic, corrosive, and fucks shit up. So what I inhaled was definitely not a lethal dose, but it was not great either. So hydrogen chloride fumes hydrochloric acid and reacts with water in your lungs to form hydrochloric acid. So don't mess around with it, and don't fill your garage with it. It's not fun. So the next one happened, I think back in March, if I'm not wrong. So I was testing with different bottles, because I sometimes make homemade bombs very occasionally. I don't usually make them. In this video, you can see one of the bombs similar to that one. But basically, it wasn't going off for a while. So I tried to poke it with a stick. But then I got really close to it. And then it went off right as I was poking it with the stick. So I was about 5 feet away from it, and it fucking blew up. It just blew up so violently. And I couldn't hear for a few minutes afterwards, and my ears were ringing for a while. But it also sprayed vinegar in my eyes. But luckily, it had been mostly neutralized because I mixed it with metal carbonate to release CO2, which is what causes the explosion. But if the bomb had worked to its full capacity and I had used the right type of bottle, I probably would have had some permanent and severe injury, because I have set off those bombs, and it has set off my neighbor's 500 feet away's high volume warning, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. That's not something you want to have in your face when it goes off. This bomb incident was a bit of a life-altering event for me, because before this, I sort of thought that, I was invincible, nothing bad could happen to me, and I sort of had plot armor, and I was special somehow. I mean, sort of subconsciously, but after this, I realized that I definitely did not have any amount of plot armor, because that's not how it works. And after it, I couldn't see because of the stuff in my eyes. I could barely hear because there was so much ringing. And I ran inside and screamed for help. I don't know if I've screamed help that much, in physical terror in a while. It was insane. If I've done the math right, one of these bombs can shatter an 120 by 120 centimeter glass pane. So definitely not something you want to have blow up in your face. So this next one happened in, I think, April or May. And what happened is I wanted to make manganese heptoxide because I had seen all about it, because it was this crazy chemical that doesn't want to exist. So my retard ass mixed potassium permanganate, hydrochloric acid, and sodium bisulfate because I thought that the hydrochloric acid would react with the sodium bisulfate to form sulfuric acid, which would react with the potassium permanganate to form manganese heptoxide and a bunch of other crap. What I didn't know is that potassium permanganate is a very strong oxidizer, and what I didn't know is that oxygen is reactive enough to replace chlorine. So what ended up happening is that it fumed chlorine gas, which I found out after a quick Google search. So basically I smelled it, panicked, ran inside, Googled, and found out it was chlorine gas. It basically just smelled like bleach, but like a really scary bleach. So this next one may or may not have involved either ozone or singlet oxygen. So basically what happened is I was playing around with hydrogen peroxide and manganese dioxide. So I decided to mix manganese dioxide with hydrogen peroxide and released oxygen, obviously, but it also released a number of unwanted byproducts, including various reactive oxygen species, which I was stupid enough to go put my nose up to it and inhale. It smelled like ozone. And my head hurt like hell afterwards. I thought I was gonna die. It was crazy.